In today's fast-paced business world, every organization faces a common challenge: how to stay competitive and relevant. This challenge has only one answer: embracing digital transformation to optimize processes, streamline operation, and provide better customer experiences. But digital transformation is not just about implementing technology, it's about transforming the entire organization, practices, strategy, and culture. This is where Quidgest comes in. We are not just another software company. We are a global team of pioneers, innovators, and problem solvers who have believed for over 30 years that anything is possible. Our Genio platform combines advanced generative AI technology with a pattern model-driven software development approach that enables us to build intelligent systems that empower organizations to achieve their goals faster, more efficiently, and with greater precision. Our tested and proven software solutions adapt and continuously evolve to the ever-changing and complex needs of our clients, ensuring that they are always ahead of the curve, with new features compatible with different technologies and platforms, so clients can automate and optimize tasks and processes with fewer resources, but more quality, rigor, control, and customer satisfaction, focusing on what really matters: their core business. Whether you are a public entity, a multinational company, or a global multilateral institution, we have the expertise and the technology to take your operations to the next level. Embrace the power of generative AI engineering and drive digital transformation with future-ready software.
Hello and welcome to this Q Talk on Agile Learning. Thank you for joining us today. So today we're going to be taking a deep dive into what we mean when we talk about Agile Learning, and I think Agile is a way of working which has moved beyond software development. We're starting to evolve processes, and how we deliver our work is focused on Agile, and the employees we work with are those who have to meet this challenge every day, and therefore their learning and development departments and the people delivering learning in organizations are also adapting to how we are going to meet the challenge of being agile and responding to the evolutions in the way we work and the contexts in which we work. So joining me today to talk about this topic and to share some of his experience in this area is Frank Otto of the Institute of Customer Experience Management in Germany. And Frank is a partner at 𝗔𝗵𝗃 and has spent much of his professional career in customer experience and now works in learning experience. I think one of the things he'll highlight to us today is how interconnected those two things are, and how what you do with your customer starts with how you learn in an organization. Welcome, Frank.
Hello, and yeah, guten Tag aus Germany, and I think I stick to English, sorry. Yes, thanks for the introduction, and in fact, also learning is an agile behavior, and the idea is to look into this during our short meeting, or that includes a short presentation on this topic.
Right, well, I'll hand over to you, Frank, to take us through what you've prepared for it, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion afterwards, and we'll finish with a short input on from Quidgest on our own learning solution.
Okay, so we start, and yeah, I don't know what everybody is seeing, so I see myself much bigger in the screen than the presentation. I hope that for people joining the show, it's the other one. It's the other way around, so they have a bigger presentation and it's not not covered by my head. Okay, it's about learning technology, and in fact, it's well, basically it had always been a hot topic, but across the last couple of years, it's becoming a real hot topic, and the pandemic was one driver of all this, but it was not really the pandemic only, as we can see. So jumping right into this, we can see, if you look into learning technology, if you start browsing this in the internet, you're kind of swamped. Many nice logo. You see all those companies have busy marketing departments, and they're shooting out whatever they can bring online. And even if you try to sort this a little bit by using some buzzwords, which I put onto this slide, it's still not so helpful. If you look into actual lists on the internet, so serious portals are listing some 900 plus providers if you go for learning systems. So obviously everybody is in the learning business. But if you look into details, in fact, yes, retrieving content, watching something, I mean, just checking something on Google is already a learning process. So of course, Google is a learning system, if you want to put it that way. Microsoft SharePoint is a learning system. PowerPoint is a learning system. So everybody's a learning system, so that we have to move forward to see what learning might be and what type of learning we should look into today. And that's so let's start with this, and based on what we're going to see, we can find some components to put together a strategy, and the strategy is always helpful in sorting things out and giving priorities. And if you apply this to learning, that's kind of a first successful step that might land into maybe the purchase of a useful system that fits into the strategy. And by doing this, one avoids mistakes. I put some. It's a classic graphic you can see on the left-hand side. So if we talk about learning, why is it important? It became mission critical in the meantime, and I like this variation of the chart because it shows that learning is already mission critical since the mid of the 80 years of the last century, quite a long time ago. But as soon as projects, or as soon as work is mainly organized into projects, you have to mix teams to change teams. So people come together with different background, different skills. It's not the standard linear career. And to put together teams, you need some training. You need to add skills. You need to add different types of skills, so that the working process leads to an outcome. So there are many things to take into account, and therefore that's one of the most important aspects of learning. In the meantime, it became the most important aspect of learning. Basically, we are in a permanent process of up and reskilling. The chart also mentions some, the first bullet point, high complex products that need some specific explanations. Again, this goes into skills. And beside this, together with the growing type of project work, we also could observe a growing amount of new products, and this also started in the mid-70s when you look into TV chains, sneakers, cars. So this all was growing by 400%, 1000%. There are many charts showing this. So all of a sudden you have more products. They are attacking specific customer groups, and therefore you need specific people dealing with those target audience. And all of a sudden you don't have one size fits all products with one size fits all people. And there you go. So this is why learning in the sense of up and reskilling is important from an enterprise perspective. We can look into the employees, which will be shown in the next slide. this goes into why is learning important for people, and that's pretty obvious. There are two little charts giving some evidence or introducing you into this. People are interested in their professional development and, of course, into career steps. This goes together with money, of course. The job must be compelling. People prefer to use late technologies and flexible work time, but on top of it all, it's a personal and professional development. And again, we are into the skill business, and this is often overseen by HR departments and recruitment people. They talk about standard things like it's a brand reputation. Everybody accepts this company. People don't care too much if they see there's training on top of the list. They give it a try. And funny enough, nowadays it's hard to. If people want to leave, they find a job more or less right away. So if this is not delivered, this promise, they go. On the right-hand side, you see on what they look, if they check for a new potential employer. And again, it's the content, and so it must be something useful. And again, it's about personal improvement, and way below you see the salary increase. There are lots of researches around this. So classical things like perks, company cars, even in Germany, is not so important as it was across the last years. So it goes into learning, and this reflects a little bit what happened across the last year. People were occupied with project. You had this kind of gig economy, and the only thing you could take if the project was done were some new skills, some improvements, experience that you can bring into other projects. So if this is not provided by an employer, you won't have a chance to get new people, and anyhow, it's hard to get new people. And the trend goes to keep the people. So former hire and fire models are going down. Even if you look into specific types of business that are really the maestro in this business, like call and service centers, if people didn't fit, they just hired a new bunch of agents. They also learned that it's pretty expensive to onboard people, to get a learning curve, and to keep them on target and on time. So we're going to look into, if this is so important and so critical, then we can check how companies are doing. And surprise, they are doing not at all. So the three little pies, the pie in the middle. So if you start with a company, you have the odds are good that there won't be a specific onboarding. You just join some people and they walk you around, and whatever they tell you, it's out of control of HR or learning and development. So you get a different impression. At least it's a not controlled impression. And for those companies that did not provide a formal onboarding program, they even are not ready to learn from this. So they stick to this weird system. Since I was talking so much about skills, the training in most cases is related to the current work, so which is also pretty interesting, because a big part of your daily business is think about being ahead of competition. So you must think about future pure products, new ideas, and what type of training is supporting this. So this is obviously not the case. So there again, there are masses of surveys and studies around this. So these numbers, they are not German numbers, they are global numbers. And in all cases, across all charts, they apply to all to people of all ages. So we are not talking about Generation Z phenomenon or bored baby boomers. So everybody is going for learning and everybody is complaining about this status. And on it goes. So it's even the first glance. So you can guess there will be a second glance presented with the next one. So it's even worse. So is training helpful? No. Could you use it? More or less not at all. And regarding what I was pointing at, why learning is so important on a personal level, this is not delivered. So if you bring some specific skills, or if there are some specific strengths or so, companies are not working with this and not pushing you, or so that your expected improvement, personal-wide job improvement, is not going to happen. So you stick to what you are doing, or and you try to change, but it's not really happening. And one reason why content of training was not helpful is put in the middle. It's outdated, and feel free to replace the word months by years, because I saw a couple of researchers that in fact were pointing that more or less each and every company still has training material that is survived 10 years or more. And there are some reasons, at least for large enterprises, this is understandable because the process is tricky. It's not so easy to change it, but it doesn't help. Outdated is outdated. So that's some of the main factors behind the state of learning and development in companies. If we jump into the next slide and change the topic with this, I let the employees explain pedagogy. In fact, if you ask people what type of training, what type of learning is preferred, you get in more or less always the same ranking. Social learning leads above all. Self-study, of course, because then you can check something for yourself. Nobody's interfering. One-on-one coaching, it's kind of social learning condensed. So, of course, this is appreciated. External content, well, it's funny enough. So this means people are checking Google to get more information. Sure, it's obvious, because if you have to deal with outdated content, you prefer to get latest information from the internet. So if your own learning department is not able to provide actual information, you try your luck on your own. And again, if all this is happening, HR or learning and development departments are losing control, because people are just finding something, and whatever they see in the web, they take it for granted. And you need some specific skills to match this with their company life. This is one of the skills people are asking for. How can I deal with data, with information on the internet? How can I detect if this is a real thing or is it a fake thing? And if this is not provided, so this is even worse. And in fact, when do they want to learn? And the answer is pretty easy: whenever this is needed. And there we are at the famous moment of need. And the scientific summary, yes, it's on this slide. It's basically very easy. Learning is a process, sure, because you have to do something. your brain has to do something, you have to write something, you have to read something. That's the process. And at the end stands a change of behavior that can be observed. So was learning effective? Yes. If people change their behavior, it was okay. If you jump into the pool and if you come up to the surface, so obviously you can swim, you manage. If you can drive a car, if you drive a car and it works out fine, then it's okay. So the proof for all this is what is called the pudding test. So you have to eat it. It's not about declaring, yes, I can swim. I can rate myself on a scale from 0 to 9. I give myself an 8 or so. No, that's not how learning is checked. It's you see, are they booking the process correctly? Are they talking friendly? Is this and that happening? And it's not about declaring this thing. And since we are in the enterprise world where everybody is adult learning just happens when adults want to learn something. And it's up to the individual to define the when and the how. So I don't know, if you have to paint the wall tomorrow, some people just check a little YouTube clip. For other people, YouTube is much too long. They go to TikTok. Other people download a PDF documentation on the history of wall paintings and whatever. And anyhow, tomorrow everybody's able to paint this piece of the wall in the correct color. And that's the secret of adult learning. And in fact, all you need, and adult is in this case defined by as soon as you are able to self-estimate your own skills, then welcome to the club. Then you are an adult learner, and you can experience this with your own school time or compare this with your own time at school whenever studies. You know better what you have to learn for an exam or what you have to learn to get it up and running. And sometimes it's far away from what your teachers were assuming or what friends or parents were assuming. So that's the secret. And this is what technology has to support, the moment of need. So maybe changing and whatever format is needed. So basically we already have the base of what technology should support in terms of learning. And since it's called digital, then because it's a digital technology. Again, a reality or a sanity check, learning and development is not really behind this. The first pie is Dunning-Kruger. I'll let you Google this. It's pretty fun. It deals with the fact that if you are in the learning department, you are surrounded by experts. It's the same for marketing. Everybody saw a TV ad, so everybody's an expert in marketing. Everybody went to school to learn something, so everybody's a learning expert, no doubt about this. So whatever input they give, so people take it for scientifically approved and for granted, and the poor L&D department and trainers have to accept it and to deal with it. And if you match this again, what the Dunning-Kruger people are saying, then you are closer to reality. Because most of this is not covered by any scientific evidence. So there are many books about this. So if you like to double check this. But sad enough, these departments think also that themselves that they are not able to deliver or to cope with actual challenges. And looking into the future, they again think they are not able to deal with what employees are wanting. So it's a sad situation. But if you look into how training looks, at least what I saw, all the companies I was working with until today are fully matching these charts and more charts and it's not the most positive impression. So there's a lot of work to do around this. So, but it's not so bad. So we switch to the more optimistic part. So in fact, there are learning and development people that have a clue, and they are starting to look into the systems. And in fact, the pandemic was kind of making sure that the image got much sharper then. So there are more people not happy. So obviously, the increases show that satisfaction went down, and people started to look into the systems, and they know why. And a short list on what went wrong could be seen on the right-hand side. Obviously, it's compatible to what I was presenting earlier. The learning experience is poor. Sure, it's outdated content. If the IT is not integrated, maybe you have a video system, you have a presentation system, you have an overall system that keeps track of all this. You have to integrate it. It's not so easy. It's purchased across a couple of years, so that brings the cost up. And you see that specifically large companies are not so happy about this, and it's insufficient analytics is something we will point at. I think I read it right with the next chart. Yes, please. So this one is dealing with the sad reality. In fact, what you measure up until now is in the training area and the learning area is not effectiveness, but it's something that is called bulimic learning. You attend a training and you write a test, you rate yourself if you can swim, you pass the test and you go back to work. That has nothing. This has nothing to do with effectiveness. Nobody's checking if people can really swim. Everybody's pretending that this is the case. But your business numbers give evidence if this is right or wrong. So are they booking correctly? Are things improving? Is the new product being explained? Can they look over? Can they think across? Can they look across? Can they think across? How you say, borders or so? Are they creative? Is the team cooperating well? So this is not observed. So companies are complaining, therefore, on missing the missing strategic components, and these are key. So if you cannot measure what you're doing, so then the question is, what are you paying those people for? What are they doing? So they are not accountable, and that's the standard. So we are coming closer to some technology. One acronym was the sorry, that was too fast. We have to go one step back, because the this LMS system, what you see on the right hand side, so that's the kind of outdated type of learning technology. That's the category of learning technology that was looked at, and that's the category of learning technology where people are not happy at all. There are many reports around this, and the users of LMS products are the most unhappy customers in the world. So it's worse than CRM systems, where many projects failed. In the learning area, the leader of the top-down is this category, because it's not measuring effectiveness. It's providing one-size-fits-all content. It can handle participants. It's inviting them. It's kind of an event management system. People are sent to training. Did they pass the test? Okay, wonderful, job done. You close the book. And if things are not improving, you come up with coaching and you blame the trainer and you go into all of a sudden you are discussing forgetting curves, and you are discussing, is the trainer doing fine? So the trainer are always doing fine. They're doing their best, but people are not interested because the content was outdated. It was not compelling. It was not suitable for their job. So adult learning, go back to the definition. If this is not relevant for you at this time, you just don't care. And that's the some background on what you can see in trainers' daily life. Solution, the cavalry system, so to speak, that's the LXP systems. They focus on the moment of need. They go for effectiveness, and they go into skills. And we will look into this very soon. Okay, sorry. Next one then. So this is what L&D people are looking at. This is for what they are spending their money for, and that's pretty professional. So the learning strategy should align with the business goals. So for most companies, this is totally new. So you need the learning strategy, and it has to align with the business strategy. Whoops, that's a heavy task. And then you have to go on, increase the productivity of your own department, align your operation with the business unit. If they roll out something, you have to roll out the training just in time. This is why you have to optimize your processes. If you go into skills, and if content is outdated, you need exact fitting content matching the skills, and not all skills, but just the skills needed. It has to be relevant. Think about the moment of need. Some people might prefer a video, some people might prefer a one-pager. So all this has to handled, and this is what L&D departments are doing. And in fact, you integrate and you engage the learners. That's one of the key factors. The more engaged your learners are, the better is your revenue and the more profitable you are. So that's one of the few things that are pretty sure across all studies. So I think we come closer to that's a little bit. That now comes the nerdy part, or that's the only nerdy chart. Sorry for this, but learning technology should cover what we see on the left-hand side. You have to deal with learning experience. I spent some words on this. You need some functionalities. You need to be able to retrieve content. It should fit into your needs, so it should match with your own specific expectations. Of course, these expectations or skills that get improved should be skills coming from the company. So that's a win-win situation, because if you go for those trainings, you might do something for your career, and then things keep on rolling. Of course, you need LMS functionalities, since I pinned it into the chart, because you need to identify your participants. You need to identify, you need to know whether the training was already attended or not. But you also need to provide functionalities that support what people are asking for. Social learning, collaboration. Collaboration goes into engagement. Engagement means that you ask people for input, for suggestions, and they say, yes, this is my input. When they're not engaged, they say, well, I had this 2 years ago. No, they were asking me for something. They were turning me out. They were turning it down. They were talking me out. There were 25,000 reasons not to look into this. So that's engagement versus less engagement. Content, it's obvious learning technology should be able to provide content, so there should be some content creation part, but it should be possible to hook external ready to use content on this. There There are more content functionalities. Your learning system can be looked at. It's like a newspaper, a magazine. The Saturday copy is has more pages because you put more in, and it's not only the crossword section. So it's like you tease people, you throw some things in, you see how they react. So that should be provided by technology. And you have the techie layer, the analytics layer, and there we are with 𝗊𝗋𝗄. That's a way of getting insights from what people are doing. You could automate all this, or you could use business intelligence. As they say nowadays, AI tools. And with this, you can start defining or coming to a strategy, pick the points you need, put priorities on it, and say, okay, I need 2 pieces of learner experiences, I need 5 ounces of learning experience, I need some analytics, I need some content, and then we look into this and bring it together. And then you make sure that the technology fulfills your strategy, and then that's the Americans would say, with this you're entering the road to success. But that's a realistic aspect. That's just a very latest slide before the summary of all this. The learning content is only partly depending on technology. So this is why I put this in. On the right-hand side, you see traditional outdated content, training people dump everything they need on the poor learners, but they just need a little slice. Today they just need little I don't know, just little treats, just little pieces. And this is why the term, the buzzword behind this is micro learning. So you need just 2 minutes of something, 1 page of something, 2 steps explaining something, and this is needed now. And there's no need to put everything in. Like, oh, by the way, okay, just because we're mentioning those 2 steps, there are 25 more steps that might be interesting one day. No, it's not of relevance today. So you just put it off, and then you come to the left-hand side, and then you see putting content together is a human task, and I'm just having an eye because someone forwarded me a question on the AI hype. If you look at the 3 circles, you can make a guess. Everybody can make a guess if AI is helpful there at all, or not at all. And the answer is pretty close to not at all, because if you look at the content, the technical part might become an AI supported part, because you can retrieve what's latest graphic style, what are trends in videos, what are trends, so you can collect and grab basic information, make some research. But you need some people that have an expertise on this, and they can sort out if this is just rubbish or if there's some truth behind. For the social, or it's a sociological part, and the pedagogic part, this is far away from AI. You have to come up with a curricula. What step should be put into the training and why? What's the order of those steps? What are the prerequisites? Can everybody attend? How can I fill the gaps if some skills are missing? So that's the didactical part. The pedagogical part is there the cognitive? Is it overloaded? Is the so-called cognitive load? Is it authentic? Is it authentic? How is the wording? Do you speak the language of your target audience? And there we come to the social part. I mean, if you make a training for techie people, they have a different lingo. If you talk to accountants, you cannot come up with programmer language, and that makes a big difference if a training gets effective or not. And if you take all this into account, you can see how far we are with AI, which is still closer to managing huge data. And maybe it's AI is closer to machine learning. You grab many data and you try to find some structures in it, but the interpretation of this is very human. And if it goes into learning, it's human only, because humans are making connections. They have questions. AI has no questions. AI machines never have questions. They never have problems. Humans have problems. Humans are creative to sort things out, and they invent new technology, maybe something that goes above AI or so. So that's the picture we are in. If we talk about learning, it's very close, and it's very close to human behavior. Well, to get hold of those people, you should follow the insights of learning. You should get familiar with what learning is doing, and that's the message of the very last chart. If we did not lose the connection behind all the skills thing, I think learning departments are too close to a knowledge input. You have to learn bazillions of facts, but your brain is sorting out what you don't need. So if you look into forgetting curves, you can Google this. That's one of the, I think that's the earliest and oldest social psychological construct that exists. People, if you leave a training, you already have almost forgotten. And it makes sense, because brain is a huge efficiency machine, and everything that is not needed for your routines will be gone. And it takes time to build it. I mean, for those that have, for those in the audience with children, I mean, it takes years. You wake up, you dress up, you have breakfast. So how many discussions, how many cries, how many failures around this? And now it's routinized. So if you get up, you are not behaving like a 2 years, 3 years, or if you were 4 years. You don't spend time with all this. It's just routine. So. And this is why there's so many jokes on women dressing up their husbands properly, because obviously this is not fully true. No, I'm kidding. Learning and development should move from this knowledge input and this quiz thing to performance output. Are they doing fine? Was training effective? And then you can measure it. It's an analytics thing. You see it in the data. Support has less work, customers are happy, complex bookings are done in one call, and with this orientation, learning and development can finally take accountability or responsibility. Like any other department, you cannot change the world, but you have input on this, and therefore you should get familiar to be accountable to what you are doing.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Frank. Really appreciate that deep dive into where learning technology and learning has come from, and also the state of what we're experiencing today and what the future might look like for us on that. And thinking back to my days as a trainer, there was a quote I always appreciated, was around when you look at what does it cost to train people and to develop people? And I think you perhaps even referenced the perspective of learning and development as being a cost center in an organization. But when you flip that, it's, well, what's it costing you to have people who aren't learning and who don't have the skills which they need to be able to deliver the performance and the expectations of your customers? And I think what you were talking about today with strategy is exactly the same point. I mean, if we apply strategy across all other areas of our business, if we think about how we are making choices and taking a strategic view, the same really it must be applied in learning and development as well.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, sure.
Great. Well, I think we're heading into the last part of our session, and I did have a question for you on AI, but someone also jumped in there ahead. So I think it's going to be the next big topic for everybody, is how we're going to deal with this. And we certainly look into a future which is even more than ever, where we're facing digital disruption, and what's the future going to look like for us in terms of jobs, in terms of roles. We see the discussion now around the impact that AI is going to have on that. And one thing I'd love to come back to, a topic with you on, is looking at how we can use learning strategy and use learning technologies to think about how we might be adaptive and agile towards meeting those new challenges too. Great. Well, it's something we could stay and talk on all afternoon, but time marches on. Good.
I hope I didn't. I think I partly blew the agenda regarding the time, but I integrated an answer to a question. So yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And I'll certainly say, well, I'm available on LinkedIn, and I think you can be found on LinkedIn too. Anyone who wants to continue the conversation after this as well. Sure. So yeah, please would be welcome. And of course, we'll be able to share the Frank's kindly offered that we can share this presentation with anyone afterwards as well. Great. So to finish up, I'm just going to take a brief moment to look at, we've been discussing Agile learning, and look at how we might apply these concepts of Agile learning within a learning platform, and specifically in this case, Quidgest's platform, MyLearn. And touching on 4 things that I think you've already addressed, Frank, but we'll focus on here, about how we modularize content into microbursts, how we have to be able to create dynamic pathways through that content, be flexible to both learner needs and changing situations, and the embedding learning in the moment of need. So with microbursts, we're talking about what we call bite-sized units of content. So these are things which are very focused on a very specific skill or a small series of skills, usually 2 to 25 minutes, so they can be easily consumed anywhere or at any time. And the idea with a microburst of training is that you're looking at something which is also very easy to replicate and to actually apply and practice. And I think, again, that was what Frank was showing to us in his presentation, is it's not about consuming content, it's also about how you will be able to apply that after. And the advantage here in using a format like microbursts is being able to add on to that to create recommendations, linkages for users for where they might go next, start extending the learning as their need grows as well. And for the content designers, excuse me, my presentation's getting a little ahead of me. These can be brought together into the kind of dynamic pathways and learning paths that Frank was talking about. So you can actually compose your microbursts or modules into a larger program, which might address the needs of a specific group of employees or a specific role. But these are always dynamic. You can change them, add to them, and adapt them as the needs of the enterprise and the goals of the enterprise change, and therefore also the needs and the goals of the enterprise, of the employees themselves. And from a trainer perspective, also, if you had update your microburst, if you update your module, then that gets updated in all the learning paths to which it's linked. So you never have this thing of, as you mentioned, Frank, where you have old content that keeps creeping back, and how do you track all the old content and different things that might have been done in the past. So we always want to make sure we have the most up-to-date views for our employees, and that we can give a diversity of types of training, whether it's an activity, a quiz, a simulation using video. And finally, to be able to give employees the agency to move through that content as they wish. So we always make the navigation available to them to be able to say, okay, I'm interested in this program, but I want to really just take the first part and the last part because I've already done the middle. I know that. So they can choose what they learn. They're not forced into other programs, but they have agency about what they choose. And this kind of flexibility of content is also something which is important, because we don't all learn in the same way. We don't all have the same interests or same preferences for learning. So we want to make sure that people can easily see that this content which suits their style or suits what they need to do right now at this moment, and that's very easy to find and take out of the training as well. Which brings me up to the last part, the embedded learning. And Frank spoke about this. I won't dwell on it too long, but the moment of need. And I'll say that when we first built this platform, we built it together, it's designed to target the needs of employees in contact center. And I mean, those are the people really in the front line. You know, they're the ones who are dealing with customers right in the moment. And therefore, they're often the ones with the greatest needs. I need to be able to do this now while I have my customer on the phone, while I'm responding to this issue. So how can I go to the learning platform and be able to pull content that actually answers the question I have right now, that teaches me how to be able to do what I need to do for my customer right now, whether it's in how I talk to them, whether I complete a process, or make available services to them. So this is some of the ways we address that in the solutions which we work with, the learning platform myLearn, and of course with all of Quidgest solutions, we're always building them to evolve with a view to the future. So to be able to easily add new components, to add new functionalities and respond to the ever-growing needs of both the organizations and the employees whom the platform serves. You can find more information on that, both on our website, and as I said, you can find me on LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect and contact, and I think the same is true with Frank. We'd love to continue this discussion. We're very happy talking about learning and development, and we would really like to thank you all for your participation today.